the time. And now we're live and recording. Well, we're live and recording on Crowdcast. It's probably about 2 to 3 seconds before we're live on LinkedIn. But anyway, welcome everyone to Hear the People. I'm Glenn Martin, co-founder now of Never Mind the Job Spec. I'm joined by my superstar co-host, Debi Easterday, founder and CEO of H2B Consulting. Say hi, Debi.
Hi, hello everybody. Happy to be here, filling temporary shoes for Katrina, who is
in India
in Australia still.
Oh, she's in India now. She's getting around. She's traveling. She's traveling.
I can't keep track, but
yeah,
yes,
exactly.
happy to be here.
Cool. And we're super excited to have the co-founder and CEO of TaTio, Maya Huber, with us today.
Hi,
welcome, Maya.
Welcome.
Exactly. So listen, over to you, Maya. Give us an intro. Who are you? Who's TaTio?
Okay. So first of all, TaTio is a woman-led company. So I always start to introduce that there's two of us.
Awesome.
My dearest colleague name is Moore. We established TaTio 3 years ago. We both come from HR. I hold a PhD in that space. So my expertise is the future of work and job analysis. And we manage a couple of HR agencies through the years. A bit about TaTio. We established TaTio with, again, after years of experience, with a great and growing frustration about the fact that we looked around. We started, our main expertise was with people that were unprivileged or unrepresentative in the workforce. Okay, so we thought we worked with people that their resumes do not reflect their skills. And through the years, we thought this is their problem, their issue that we need to solve and target. But when we looked around the market, we suddenly realized that you look at all those HR solutions, the market is so fragmented, but still most, if not all of the solutions out there are still relying on resumes, application forms, or words or story from any kind. And we think it's about time that should be changed. There's so many people out there privileged in their competencies, but not privileged in their resumes. We all need to be judged by our competencies. And this is what we do. TaTio connect companies and job seekers based on competencies alone. And I would love to talk about it today.
Wicked. And give us a little bit of a background in terms of you. You sort of mentioned you come from the sort of HR background. Just give us a little bit of context to your background.
Sure. So for 15 years, I was working, we manage a couple of agencies. We provide the service to companies or job seekers across the board. But the last couple of years, I think the last 10, we work with underprivileged population, again, across the board. We were working also for the government. We consulted a lot of programs here that was trying to try to integrate people that come from underrepresented population into the workforce. And through the years, so imagine we meet a person after person, right? We look at his resume, so it's either not relevant anymore. Imagine a person that just went through an accident a couple of months ago, even last year, and for a year was out of the market. So you look at his resume, there's blank there. Sometimes they want to do a career change, right? So we had this mission through the years to have a better understanding what they can do, because we were supporting companies. And, instead of telling them, you know what, trust me, he's right for the job, right? Debi is great. You will know her, love her, she's great. It didn't work. We need to know more about the competencies of company, because this is, at the end, is a game of value, right? We want people that will provide value to companies. So through the years, we created those tests. At the beginning, they were pen and paper that simulate what we can about job, or used our office environment to simulate what we can. And again, after years, when we got really frustrated with the result, because at one time I said, let's look around. There is an enormous market of HR technology. Let's find a solution that will help us. But we couldn't find. So that is the background. Also, my PhD, my expertise. I am really committed that the future will provide different opportunities for job seekers to prove their skills up front.
Yeah. I think that's and that was one of the things that you kind of touched upon when we were chatting in the green room, because slightly more cynical people were like, well, it's a HR tech play, and there's a product and a proposition here. But the thing that really sort of delighted us, and the reason why we invited you on as a guest, is you're genuinely mission driven, because of like you say, and all of us as kind of recruitment, talent acquisition practitioners, HR practitioners, we know where people are not getting the opportunities. We know where there's not fair, open recruitment hiring processes. The question is, how can we influence that? What can we do to make that change? So, just tell us a bit more about that broader mission statement.
Yeah. So first of all, I want to share a story with you. Okay, a real story. I am one of the project we had was a project for the government, a massive project integrating. I will tell you two stories. This is one. Integrating people with disabilities into the workforce. Okay. So, and it was a new project. We didn't know what to do. And we had this enormous company, giant companies, a company in the ecosystem here in Israel, wanted to hire people with disabilities, but she couldn't. It took us 6 months to convince them to remove their recruiting process and try something that we will offer. Wow. What was the offer? We were sitting, it was a call center job, okay? Basic one, just answering some text messages and providing just first line feedback. Yeah. And we were sitting near to the candidates and we were performing calls. So I would say, hey, I had a car accident. I need someone to rescue me. Could you please send someone? He will answer. We did that over and over again. Mm-hmm. After we finished this, it's not even training, right? Test. I told my team, you know what? I'm not sure. It will never work. Like it looks too easy, right? Mm-hmm. We had 90%. Those are really people that were in low function in terms of their, if you look at them, low performers, okay? 90% of success. And after a year, most of those people, we integrated 26 people in that call center, 24 out of them stayed or promoted.
Amazing.
And after that, and I said, oh my God, it was so really simple. We literally simulate calls like a conversation. Mm-hmm. And so this is one story. And the other story, after I was personally, I wanted a change after so many years. And I looked around and I said, wow, being a product manager could be so cool, like creating product, like those tests. And I was sending my resume over. No one will look at my resume, right? No one. Yeah. 15 years of experience in HR, PhD. My mother is so proud. Nothing.
Yeah, no response whatsoever, because you didn't have loads of product management written in your CV in the context that they would.
No one created my logos.
Yeah.
Right. I'm telling this story because this is not just a story of those unprivileged people. It's our story. Yeah. People are going through career changes. The career path is not linear anymore.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So our resumes, even I'm a privileged person. I have the credential, right? Again, proud mama. But it doesn't count. And I think I'm telling those two stories because people have more. This is really why I get up in the morning.
I love that. And I will tell you, last night, I do a lot of volunteer work. And last night I was passing out meals. And as I was passing out meals, I was looking at these people. And I was like, this is the problem. Because these are people who are deemed unemployable by most hiring managers. If they show up for a job, they're not even going to get looked at. They might get the sympathy or the empathy from the hiring manager, but they're not. Nobody hires you because they feel sorry for you. They don't.
Absolutely.
They wish you well. They hope you find something, but they don't hire you because they feel bad. They don't typically
Exactly.
give you a chance.
And it's
And so we need this.
Yeah.
We need it.
100%, Debbie. And I think it's kind of the hiring manager looking at those individuals to think, how can I assess whether I can hire them? You know, how would I even begin to assess their capabilities? Because all I can see is perhaps their current situation. I can't see past that to perhaps their history. I mean, you know, like I say, the amount of kind of homeless individuals in the UK that are ex-armed forces, you know, and it's kind of like these individuals, well trained, very well trained individuals, which segues neatly into the kind of topic of the show, which is, you know, how to create or simulate these kind of work-based sort of test scenarios, which will, firstly, to your point, empower the workforce, but equally, how does it cultivate then diverse hiring? And we're talking about diversity in a broadest sense to encompass what Debbie's just pointed out there, you know, individuals that have experienced homelessness. So can you just, before we get into it, can you just kind of give us a definition? What do you mean by simulating these kind of, you know, just give us a bit of context on that.
So first of all, I think we should talk about competencies-based hiring and the difference between competency-based hiring and skill-based hiring. Because skills-based hiring has been around, right? We want to test people based. I describe competencies by testing skills, but within their context.
Okay.
The reason for that is when you ask people about their skills, it's a question of where do I perform those skills, right? If this conversation right now will be, I don't know, in front of thousands of people, right? In front of our face, our competency, our self-efficiency, right, will be different, maybe better, maybe not. But each one of us will perform different. So we need to ask people about the skills, or to test skills, but to understand the context of the skills. And this is where the simulation are there. And simulations are out there in the market, but mostly for tech companies, right?
Yep.
And we use simulation to qualify candidates. Companies who do that commonly, you know, there's the process of going through those post and ad, going through dozens of hundreds of resumes, and then from a small amount of people you choose, you send them a simulation. Sometimes you get the report, you analyze it, right, and then you make a decision. What we're trying to do is to source people through simulations. So before even they apply, first of all, they simulate or experience jobs. We have a technology that enables us to create simulation for any job out there. Let's say most jobs out there, okay? I'll be modest, but most of the
give us some examples. Give us some examples of what would be like ideal areas.
I will show you one in a minute.
Oh, perfect. All right, even better.
Let's do it.
Right now, we are operating. We're focusing again. We're a growing startup, so we need to be focused. So we're focusing on warehouse, retail, supply chain, everything from a picker to procurement, and also in frontline sales, and also what I call service, which is pretty broad. It's basic call centers, could be sales, BDR, SDR, technical support, bank tellers, things like that. Again, we have the opportunity, the tech ability to simulate everything. Our technology is our patent-backed technology is our own editor that with a drag and drop job analysis expert creates simulation within hours to days for any position. So what the simulation are testing is the real main core task of the job. So let's say, I will show you in a minute the customer care one, okay?
Cool.
Let's talk about it first. What will you want as a recruiters from a customer care rep? Tell me.
Yeah. You have to be friendly. Yeah, you have to be service oriented. You have to be transactional. You have to have good listening skills.
Perfect.
Hmm.
To operate the CRM, right?
Software savvy, I would imagine, if you're
Yeah.
doing manual entry.
Perfect.
Ultimately, you have to kind of assess the ask, the request first and foremost, right? So does it come into the bucket of something that we can deal with quite quickly? Is this a kind of longer term solution? Do I need to bring people into into this conversation, etc.? So that kind of almost problem solving, solutioning mindset, as it were.
Perfect.
Yeah.
This is what we simulate, and this is what we test. Simple as that. What we do not test, it's not personality traits, it's not their ability to be a team player. And the reason for that is because we believe this is the job of the recruiter.
Yeah.
We want recruiters to spend their time on their real expertise, which is analyze that matching level of that specific persona or personality to the organization. But with us, they will be comfortable that the basic competencies
they can do it.
They can do it.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Baselining. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so
let's see. I'm a visual learner,
let's see. I
like it too. Yeah, I love a demo. I always sign up for them, no matter what the product.
Very cool.
Just give me a sec, and it will happen. Let's see how I'm connecting.
We did this in the green room beforehand, so we know it works.
Yeah. You know what?
The dry one was a success.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No,
it always falls apart live, Glenn. You know that.
Here we go.
Cool. Let's do this.
Imagine you are a job seeker looking for a job. Okay, you will see an ad. I just want to say this is not passive sourcing. We attract candidates to our platform with marketing methods. Okay, so it's not web scraping, finding out about customers. We will see an ad as a job seeker. They will say a job at high tech without a college degree, without a resume. Okay, and or either an invitation to try out a job. This is the first page you will see. A bit of explanation here. There is a tutorial here, which I will skip, and you're in the job. Just tell me that you hear the calling. You're here?
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. So Bella is calling, and I need to answer.
Hello. I disconnected from the internet package a month ago, and I'm still paying for it. How does that make sense?
Now I need to find how can I help her. So there is a database here, like every call center. She disconnected and was charged. I will answer her. Hi, Bella. Thank you for reaching out. You are paying for 10 days that left on your account. Once this billing will be over, you will not be charged again.
Can you assure me that next month I will no longer pay? And that no unnecessary charge will be made?
Yes, I can assure you that you're only paying for the 10 days left on your billing.
Oh, does that mean I'm paying for the days that I was a subscriber?
That's exactly right, Bella.
Okay. If so, it's fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Bella. Thank you for reaching out. I need to summarize the call here. And when it's done,
new incoming chat.
There's another conversation with this chat.
Very cool.
Okay, I want to show you.
Now, what about people, Maya, who freak out about test taking?
Yeah.
This is a great question. So,
I'm a test. Oh my God! I know everything on the test, but I'm beside myself freaking out.
So first of all, it's not a test, it's job experience. It is job experience. And I'm highlighting that because there's not a company on the other side. You do not test in front of a company. It's Peter, TaTio, you experience it. You didn't do it right, or you were not satisfied with your result or freaked out, you can do it again and again. And we analyze your learning curve. So let's say after 3 times, you became a brilliant customer care representative. Amazing. You
You
are
stopped sweating. You got over it by like the fifth time. You're ready to go. I love that.
And imagine we can share with companies that after 3 times you nailed it.
Yeah.
And your learning curve is growing. Right?
I mean, that in itself is so important, Maya, that you can actually give somebody an opportunity to kind of almost quell the adrenaline and kind of get past. And because sometimes people's anxiety just increase naturally because it's the known unknown. It's kind of, I know what I'm going to be kind of doing, but I'm not actually doing it. So the anxiety increases. But once they have that familiarity, as you said, they're immediately on a kind of learning curve. And it might take 2 or 3 opportunities for them. But it's great that they don't get discounted on the number of times they've taken that kind of work simulation, because there are other video-based video interview platforms that do that. It's like one and done. If you don't do it in that time,
you're dead.
Yeah.
And most people, I can tell you, are doing it on the first time. It's pretty. I guess most of times the first scenario is a bit low and then they go up. Yeah. There's always a similar scenario like the first one, a typical complexity level. Later on the test, so we will see where you stand. Most people are improve their performance and relaxed. And the thing is, the fact that it's not answering math questions or comparing squares. You don't have the time running. It's the real job. So you have a sense if you like it or not. And we love it, although companies not, but when people pull back their application. Because imagine the time and frustration for both sides. If he said, this is too crowded for me.
I don't want to do this. Yeah.
We have the same for warehousing. We have, again, as I said, for any position, and it's operate from the mobile or desktop, depending on the position. We collect 150 data points to your performance.
Wow.
So it's performance analysis. It depends on your time, speed, accuracy, quality of what you said, quality of what you did. If you pick the right products, if you pick the right answers, etc., etc. There are more complex simulation like sales where you need to close 3 deals after 20 minutes. You have a pipeline. But because those positions are time stretched, so we need to simulate that. But what I want to share is by the end of the simulation, first of all, the candidate, the job seeker, gets feedback.
I was going to say, feedback being key, right?
Feedback about his performance, what was his main strengths and weaknesses, what he need to work on, positive, nice. And then 2 things will happen. If you cross the bar with 70% of prediction score, that he was qualified based on competencies and met some of the companies any of the companies we work with in terms of general requirements, location, salary, I don't know, specific diploma, whatever.
Other logistics,
He will be matched with a company and he will be offered to apply. So it's not like we are doing that automatically. There is a decision making here. He can decide where he wants the company to see his report or not.
That's what I'm saying. So the power is in that individual's hands to kind of share that or not if they choose to.
And also, it's there's a lot of laws right now growing about legalization, about using AI, and that way companies also defend themselves because the candidates see the data that was analyzed. And he approved that it is relevant, is reflect of his competencies, and then he can send it over to the company. But the second thing will happen that he will be offered other position that matches competencies. So imagine, Debi, again, you did the sales simulation, but your proactive behavior was moderate. I will offer you to try out customer care or data analyst, position that hold the same competencies within them. That way we create this unique, first of all, the value for the candidate is massive because you get feedback and other opportunities. That way, maybe I would consider to be and I don't know, something else. But at the same time, for companies, we attract candidates that suddenly think, oh, that's cool, I can do that.
Well, it sets them up for success. You already know that you're mapped well to that role and that you're likely to perform well in it. So I think that gives a candidate more confidence going into that process then, right? Because they're like, wow, they already think that wow, I'm excited about this job. And I mean, a lot of people are doing jobs because this is the job they've always done.
Exactly.
And they may or may not even be suited to the work that they're doing every day, but it's just what they know.
I wanted to tell you that because to talk about it, because we are working with Professor Joseph Fuller. He's the one who leads the Future of Work part of the Harvard Business School. Whoever listens to us, you need to read his materials. What he's talking about when you talk about untapped pool, he's talking about those people you mentioned, that they work, they're not unemployed, but they are underemployed.
Yeah.
And I think this is
and then likely disengaged from the work that they're doing, right? I mean, how much more energy do you put into a job that you love doing? You know, and then you're like, then I have to log those invoices and balance the spreadsheets, but then, I get to do my social media, so it's what lights you up. And that's where you're typically very successful. So if you're mapped well, that employer is actually setting you up for success in that organization. That's cool.
So Dennis has a question. Who's listening? Thank you for the question, Dennis. Which I thought was it's an interesting one. Is it considered fun by those taking the simulation?
Great question.
We
hear fun, but we hear also respectful, objective. We get feedback about, this is exactly the job. So cool. This is exactly what you do. Like, how exciting is that? We hear from recruiting team that this is a bit sad, but our candidates answer the phone more than others.
Yeah. More engagement.
And they are more engaged.
Yeah.
And of course, Dennis, when I look at the future of this product, there is a massive opportunity of gamification of those simulation. Again, I don't want to make it like a cartoon, but a gamification features to keep people on and to share it with your friends. We are totally there. We try to do not waste the time of anyone and to do it respectful. What the work requires, this is what we'll have. If it's not mandatory, I will not check that. If it's biased, we will never ask that. It's like, for us, it's straight in the field. So for what you said before, Debi, we have it could be even so simple. We have people working we work with one of the growing startups in Austin, Texas. Okay. And we work with them to fill out the position for customer care. That's the simulation that you saw. And we had people working in a local call center, and now they're in high-tech.
Yeah.
Wow.
Same competencies, right? Same competencies, or most of the competencies are the same. And this is an upgrade.
And you can train, right? You can upskill what they don't, what's lacking there.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I'm immediately thinking here, and you touched upon this at the beginning, Maya, which is, kind of empowering recruiters to have probably more informed pre-screening interview conversations. Now, if we're saying their traditional approach of skills and experience matching is now not needed, and we're presenting them with data and information based on a simulation that they can utilize for that pre-screening, some recruiters might be like, okay, so what am I screening for? And ultimately, we know that from a values perspective, some of that can be just a bit fluffy. Like values in a startup and a scale-up can be really fluffy, and there's not really a tangible, or there's not really something that underpins that from a scorecard perspective. It's not particularly well defined, so it could be then quite subjective. So if you're if you're asking recruiters to kind of pivot in terms of what they're pre-screening for, how could they either utilize the information they've got from TaTio, or what advice, or what are you finding in your interactions with companies? How are those recruiters having to pivot now?
Wow, I have so many things to say. First of all, you need to remember, we compare it to resumes. So, and I believe that with resumes, you don't really have enough data to lean on. It's your guts, right? You know that they worked somewhere, they can write it, they cannot. That it doesn't say that they were good at their job, they were there, so it's not, at the end, we provide an extra data that validate that what if they have an experience, they know how to do the job, and if not, they know how to do the job. Everything else, and this is the major stuff that recruiters are doing right now, because when would they see resume, what they test people for on the interview? They validate the resumes, right? Try to understand if it's real, if it's concrete, right? If the experience provide any data about competencies. And then they ask about the commitment, the values, the culture. So if they do not know, like you said, they try to enthusiasm them, right, about the mission. For me, it's the same, but there are so many industries right now that recruiters are burned out. They're spending their time interviewing hundreds of people who are not relevant, doing those cold calling, for days and days and days. Like, I think, and if I would get $1 of any company asking me, can you simulate recruiter job, please? Like, I want a simulation for recruiters. And that's because recruiting teams are leaving as well. They do not stay because the world is really tough on those organizations. I want to change that. I think that recruiters are here. I guess that relevant for 3 hours at least, and people on this conversation, they want to interact with people. But have a meaningful interaction with people. Make sure they are the one in the company that connects the employee to the company. How can you do that when you interview so many people who are not relevant? You're exhausted.
Yeah, it's time efficiency, isn't it? Just another quick follow-up question from Dennis. What languages does TaTio support?
Right now, English. But we are agnostic to language. In the future, we'll do everything. We just started, so. But we are committed to that. Ask Dennis what language he wants.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he can pop that up in the chat channel, Dennis. What languages are you looking for?
I will put it on top of priority, Dennis.
Yeah, 100%.
That'll be the next iteration. I love the idea of, I love all of this. I love the idea of having another tool in the recruiter's tool belt. I do think this would be a tool. I think that it would be something that's kind of like, I don't want to liken it to a psychometric evaluation or assessment, but that is a tool, right? It's something that basically for many organizations is going to disqualify these 5 candidates or elevate these 5 candidates who didn't really look that great on paper, but they scored really well on. So I would say it's a tool. I'm never afraid of the recruiting job going away. Never. No. I'm not intimidated by that at all. Fine, have a new tool. It just makes my job easier. But I feel like here's what you can't scan for. You can't scan for likability. Is this person articulate? Does this person come up with quick answers? Or is this person constantly stumped and sweaty? And, is this person saying things that are inappropriate or that go against our core values? I mean, all of that stuff reveals itself so organically in conversation with a recruiter. I can't tell you how many times people disqualify themselves just because they think I'm their new best friend.
Of course, yeah.
And then they start telling me things. Oh my gosh, my last job, I told him, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, we're in a job interview.
Yeah.
I don't know how you missed it. But we are, but I just feel like you can't get a lot of that. I mean, so much of that you can't get from a work simulation, a psychometric assessment. It's always going to come down to a short list of candidates who then need to have conversations with a human being who understands whether or not this is going to work out. And so, yeah, I'm not afraid of it, Glenn. Bring it on. More tech, more tech.
Yeah. I think
this is definitely not our mission. Remember, I was a recruiter myself. I want my job to retain, right?
It's an important
100%.
role. Yeah.
100%. Dennis just said German. It would be the language of preference.
Okay.
And he's kind of passed over some contact details, which I'll share with you at the end, Maya. I think he's keen to follow up the conversation. I think one of the things that kind of came to mind to me as you were kind of talking through actually having this baseline of kind of data points and actually a genuine understanding of whether somebody has the kind of competencies to perform in the role. How great would it be that first kind of pre-screening interview with the recruiter could be less about what you've done to get you to this point now. We already understand the competencies that you have. How great would it be to have a conversation around your growth potential in the role and how you foresee what the sort of training and development you think you need to progress in this particular role? And you start talking about career pathways, because ultimately that's one of the key things that any hiring manager should really be looking for. It's like, okay, cool, I'm hiring you for this particular role now, but I've got to really be thinking about your growth potential and your kind of career pathway, because ultimately that maps against the growth of the company. And I wonder whether you'd kind of experienced companies that had started to pivot to that kind of conversation and make it a bit more kind of encompassing through that hiring process.
Absolutely. First of all, I see when I talk about competencies-based hiring, it starts with sourcing, but I think we should create a metrics that would go like resumes, right? But that will go with the employee or the job seeker, depending on the time, through all his life, through all his working life, okay? And within a company, and when you move between companies. And imagine that, first of all, when you see on the interview, when you see the report and you say, okay, this is what we need to work on training. So we work on that because those are your weaknesses. There was your strength. We will not work on that. We will not waste your time on training. The training will be on the spot. And then after 6 months or a year, you can offer your employee to experience different opportunities inside the organization and then create a career path. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is where this is exactly where we want to go.
I know something else you touched upon, which is a massive topic in HR tech at the moment, unconscious bias. How does TaTio remove unconscious bias from that process? What's your kind of model for that? Okay,
so first of all, we do not collect any data. We have the name, okay, name and email, an address, which could be biased, but we do not collect any data about job experiences, any other question or questionnaire. They are straight, as you saw, directed to the simulation. On the company side, they are, at the end, what we sell, our product, is a platform where they can reach an updated pool of anonymous candidates, ranked based on their competencies alone. So they can look on those grades, rank them, sort them, but then and then download the report. But on the report, there's even not the face, the full name of the candidate. Only when they decide to interview, they will see that full name, address, and nothing except of that. So no work history, credentials. I don't know, image. Whatever. If someone will talk.
But the cool thing about that is that now you have a pool. This is a qualified pool. You can fall in love with any of these people because they're qualified, and what we typically do, recruiters are people, so they connect with an individual and they get fixated on, I like this person. And so then all of a sudden, a half an hour goes by and you realize, like, didn't even interview that person. You just were hanging out with that person, and then you're like, I like Sue. She's great, and then Sue's hired. And
Yeah.
now Sue can't do the damn job. And now no one likes Sue. You know, and it's been a wreck for everybody, a disaster for everyone. But it's because we fixate on people we automatically like. And then we interview them easily if we interview them. And then the people that we've decided we don't like or that we're not as impressed by, you're giving them all the hard questions because you're trying to figure out how you're trying to make sure that you were right about your call. Yeah, I was right. Yeah, he's not the one. Sue's the one, you know, but this is why we have to have something between the application and the interview because recruiters are humans. But we're actually even more social humans typically than average humans. So we are going to have magnetic draw. And
Definitely.
so it's
Definitely
a good thing to put this. Now you can fall in love with any of these 12.
Yeah.
You know, but Sue didn't make it.
Yeah.
You know what's sad about it? That after Sue will leave the job, you will blame the hiring manager who didn't treat her well.
Yeah, or the recruiter. It'll be the recruiter's fault. Terrible.
I think one thing I wanted to kind of, there's a couple of things, but the first thing with TaTio and the proposition itself, like you're probably talking to kind of C-suite company owners. You're also probably talking to heads of talent acquisition, etc. Those heads of talent acquisition and or recruiters, what are their typical pushbacks on you? Like, we don't need TaTio because. I just want to kind of give you an opportunity to air those typical questions or pushbacks that you would get from the recruitment community per se.
You know, a smart person told me a couple of days ago that I'm fighting the status quo. Good luck with that. And I guess this is the main thing. We see it from HR leaders that either on becoming, in the process of becoming our partners or already using our product.
Yeah.
Relying on competencies is tough. So some they say, I could ask for a resume afterwards. And yeah, you can ask whatever you want. Or people are afraid. I think the main issue is that the market is so crowded with so many resources, everybody talking about qualified candidates, right? Everybody talking about more efficient hiring process and unbiased. Okay. Like the conversation we had before this start about a solution he showed with me that is trying to solve the unbiased obstacle resumes. I think all of us vendors that try to work with recruiters are sharing the same promise. What we try to do is to find those early adopters who want to change, who understand that the current system is not working well. And we need another tool. And like any change out there in the market, it will take time. The early adopters will start, and we have great partners working with us that fell in love with the opportunity of meeting people in a different way. Some of those companies using our tool to the pool they hiring to see their current pool of people in different way. It's like a new flashlight.
Yeah.
But it's tough. It's not relevant for everybody.
Yeah. I was thinking like some of the things that typically recruitment or HR folks would be like, okay, does it improve our time to hire? Does it reduce our cost per hire? Again, that piece around kind of unconscious bias. And I would assume that you're accumulating data that you can illustrate those, even if it's those two metrics, time to hire and ultimately cost per hire.
Three of them and even more because 20% better retention rate. 50% at least time to hire. We have a company that reduced their hiring steps from 6 to 2.
Cool.
More diverse pool. And a better well-being for recruiters, really, because they interview relevant people and they meet their KPIs. But I guess it is not enough because this premise on the first call, I guess every vendor in the HR tech will tell you that. If not all of them, 2 of them. For us, it's a new paradigm shift.
Yeah.
And we are looking for those recruiters who are up to that. We call it HR rebels. We're looking for HR rebels. It's not about breaking the system. we call it's reverse engineering it, because right now there's a lot of burden on the recruiting team. It wasn't like that in the past. Right? It was different. It was a bit different. They had a more, I don't know, more, their job was more focused, I believe. And right now, when it's so easy as a job seeker to just click and send your resumes, right? I call it click and pray. You click, 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 click.
Oh, yeah.
And we always make it easier for them to just click it, click it, click it. But then they just, it's a
click and forget.
Click and forget. Oh, this is better.
Yeah. Click and forget. It's kind of like, because I've experienced it previously, like with an agency side. You pick up the call, you're like, hey, Maya, or hey, Debi, and you apply for this job, and they're like, remind me, which company is that again?
What is this again?
Which job is this? Who are you? And
this is like, horrible.
Yeah.
This is horrible.
Or when candidates tell me, oh yeah, I've applied for like 100 jobs. I'm like, why? Why are you applying for 100 jobs? Were you qualified for all of them?
Because there is a mindset, I think, in terms of people that are kind of applying for jobs now. They either find the whole process quite transactional, so they approach it in a transactional way. Secondly, they're not expecting any response or acknowledgement of their application. So volume equals the percentage chance increase that they might actually get a response. And equally, they might even get to speak to a person. Ooh, even. And
that's the logic. That's the logic.
So,
you throw enough bullets at darts at the dartboard, eventually you'll get a bullseye.
So there is this, I think there's, to your point, Maya, where kind of, that should we say it more broadly, the HR tech, talent acquisition tech market is very, it feels saturated. But a lot of the plays are, let's just make it more time efficient for the recruiter without thinking about the quality for the actual individual that wants to apply and actually wants to illustrate their skills in a way that they feel best represents them. And it strikes me that TaTio does actually do that. It's kind of like, a lot of people are like, well, if I could show you an example of my work and how I approach this, I would probably be more confident to talk about that than trying to take you through my CV. Because let's be fair, I mean, if you're a company that you used to work for prior to your current one 5 years ago, you vaguely remember what you did there in terms of the high level responsibilities, but you moved on from that, right? And you got a recruiter in front of you going, "Okay, tell me about this company from 5 years ago. What were your top achievements?"
Let me create one.
Exactly.
And I will share it to you in a minute.
Exactly. Yeah. And then suddenly you get this really conflated example of an achievement. You're just like, that doesn't sound believable.
Yeah, but also, you know what, guys? We are in a time right now when companies are struggling to find any working ends or qualified working ends. The solutions we had are not working anymore. We need tools that will connect us with different pools of candidates. If you saw, I'm not sure if you saw, there was an article by Amazon a couple of months ago saying that by 2023, they will interview any person in the US that want to work in a warehouse. Wow. This is nuts. And of course, it's not true, because there are people there that could work in a warehouse that they will never interview. We all know that for sure. But the assumption that calls for a new perspective. And also with those career, everybody is talking about COVID and the changes in the workforce that was accelerated. But people going through career changes, their resume mean nothing. We need to find tools to attract them. And it's just it's not about creating a faster way to apply. Because it won't be enough for a person like me who is qualified to be a product, but will never apply. I will never apply. And you want people like me applying to jobs. I will be super committed, grateful for the opportunity I have, right? Extremely engaged in the process. Maybe the best candidate you can get, but you will miss them. And I think it's about that. I don't say that diversity and inclusion is not important, because it is. And this is a big mission for all of us. But to be practical, we all need employees. And
Maya, what kind of training or adoption issues are you seeing from the hiring management pool? Because HR adopting a new tool is one thing, right? HR adopting a new tool and then letting all of the hiring managers know that we're going to be doing this from now on, okay? Not everybody's like, okay,
Yeah.
great, I love it. There are going to be hiring managers that are like, I want to see the damn resume. I want a resume. Who is this person? Like you've got to have, you have to have encountered them along
That's
the way.
Definite mindset shift needed there,
It's
right?
a total mindset shift.
This is exactly what we see, Debbie. The hiring managers ask for resumes. Simple as that.
We do.
They still want resumes. But as they work with us for a long period of time, they can easily, slowly take those off. This is what we see. We provide them with data. They just need to be open-minded to read it. And it's better for them to read it because at the end, hiring managers, as we all know, working with them, they're not all the time. They are a people person and know how to interview, right? Yeah. This is a different skill to interview people, but they know what the job requires. So going back to what I shared, if you see our report and it shares service orientation, exactly what you say, their ability to operate CRM, clear tone, right? English literacy, speed, accuracy. They can read that better than resumes. Yeah. They just need to be open-minded to read it. But definitely, this is what we see, and we need the help of the recruiting team to close the gap there. Yeah, absolutely.
Fascinating. It's such a fascinating topic, and I think, you know, to your point, Maya, and we were talking about this in the green room, you're really looking to contribute to the community and the conversation around this change and this shift in terms of, and it will ultimately happen. As you said, there's always early adopters. I mean, I remember, exactly. I remember when, you know, kind of recruiters like social media, we won't need that. Right? You're kind of like, we don't
need an ATS.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I mean, there's so much. Yeah.
There's always a shift. So I genuinely really wish you well with, you know, kind of shifting the needle on that conversation. But before we kind of wrap up, because we've got, you know, about 5 to 8 minutes left here. Firstly, I wanted to acknowledge your fundraise recently, $5.3 million. Congratulations at Seed. I think that's amazing. And as we discussed, right, validation that TaTio has a place and a growing place in the HR tech markets. That's amazing. Yeah. But what I'd like to ask, pleasure. What I'd like to ask from you, because certainly in the UK and Europe, and we've seen a lot of reports around, you know, kind of VCs and such pulling back from investments in their portfolio. So, you know, ultimately you could sort of say raising money in this environment is quite challenging. And I was just curious as to maybe if you had some advice for founders, co-founders looking to raise money in, you know, over the next couple of quarters. What advice would you give them? Because, you know, you openly admitted, which I thought was super cool, it's the first time you kind of done that, right? So it's a learning journey there. And I just kind of wanted to give you the platform to just offer some advice and thoughts on raising for.
Thank you so much. I'm not sure if I'm qualified.
I did.
You are, really?
Yeah, 100%. You've done it. So you are qualified. Trust me.
I can tell you a couple of things. First of all, you're absolutely right. It was tough. And we talked about it briefly before. As a woman, it was tougher. And actually, women coming from HR, I was perceived as a woman who want to do good to the world. This is not business. You just want to do good. And it is business.
Did they not know it's the PhD? You know, I mean, that's a significant kind of.
So the PhD helped. Right. Honestly, the PhD helped. Yeah. My mother was right. But so couple of things. First of all, I learned to speak mostly again about founders know that about the numbers and the market and the opportunity. But I think everybody knows that raising money. What I learned is how meaningful is the team you have. I can tell you that one of the stories that attract our companies is the action we took to make this company happen. First of all, we as a founders, we switched places in terms of our position in the company. I was sharing stories about tough decisions that we make, because in this rough time, when you pull your all of your opportunities on someone, you choose someone to invest in, that should be that person that will be strong in the storm. And I think that was what what the investors were looking for. People that know how to make tough decisions, to stand behind it and be cheerful and enthusiastic with what they do. I think this is one of my greatest learns I got from this journey, because at the beginning I was so practical, just sharing my story, mission, like problem, that was that. And I understood that I need to share our values as co-founders, as a team. And that was, I think, that what literally pay off.
That's cool. Very cool. And knowing individuals that have gone through fundraisers and are thinking of going for that, to your point, some of the typical questions are, okay, cool. What's the product? How scalable is it? What's the market opportunity? If we invest X, what will that allow you to do in a 12-month period, 18-month period, 24-month period? And obviously the story as well, the narrative is kind of like behind it. Were there any questions that surprised you, whether that was from one individual or something that kind of came up through that process? You were like, oh, okay, probably didn't expect that question, but I can see its relevance or it's interesting.
I think at the end the questions repeat themselves, but I was always amazed. I was positive that I know the market, I know my competitors, and because specifically the HR space is so crowded, I was every time amazed that I found out a new name that I didn't know. So what I can share is that be really on the data, understand the market, be in it, interact with people, because this question, when you miss out those companies, it doesn't seem very looks.
That's what they all want: concrete, measurable. I mean, give me some things don't give me. We think it'll be great for.
Yeah.
They don't care what you think. They want to know what's mapped out, what's forecasted.
And sometimes they do not have a deep data about the market. In the professional aspect of it, they have their own experience with their recruiters. Some citizens there as well. It's more on when I see it more with the VC that didn't invest in HR tech and investing in me. So you need to sometimes to explain basic terms and assumption that you are positive, that like competencies. I thought competencies is like a term. It's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you need to explain it.
Exactly, competencies in the context of kind of recruitment. So that's interesting. You found that perhaps even though you were sitting in front of individuals that are kind of invested in business before, you still had to kind of slightly educate them softly in a way around kind of what the sort of terminology, which I think is super interesting. Because a friend of mine who runs an exec search firm, Lewis. He was at a kind of VC event, and he said it was odd because one of the kind of curator of the event was like, okay, asked all these VCs, kind of what should founders not do? What is the one thing that they should not do? And each one of them apparently was like, do not, well, in the context of do not lie, don't overinflate the numbers, don't overinflate the market opportunity, because that's the one thing that will probably go against you when that investor wants to kind of really think about committing their money. If they genuinely don't think that the numbers, that's a red flag straight away.
Absolutely. And also I learned that it's not about telling a story that you think will be good for the other side to hear. You need to tell your own story, because at a minute they're popping your balloon and they will know that it's not your story. So be genuine. And I think and be true to yourself, and again, I have dozens of people said no to me. You only need the one to say this, and the one who will say yes are the one who really believe in you, and those are the one you want with you, because tough times ahead. You want people who really believe in your story and what your mission is.
Yeah. Well, clearly you've got people that believe in your mission at TaTio, which is amazing. I think that's a lovely way to wrap up the show. Maya, this has been fascinating, genuinely, and thank you also for the first time I think we've had a demo in Hear the People as well, which is love a live demo. Love a live demo.
Like, I want to see it.
Yeah. So Maya, where can everybody find you? What's the best way to connect with you if they want to follow up conversation? See more of your content. Where do they go? I've put your LinkedIn profile in the chat channel here, but is there anywhere else that we can catch up with you?
So first of all, thank you guys. It was a blast, and thank you for having me. You can reach me personally on my LinkedIn profile, Maya Huber. I will put it in a chat in a minute, and TaTio.io. Simple as that.
Perfect indeed. And I want to say a special thank you to Debi as well for joining as my co-host. It's been super enjoyable indeed. Well, listen, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time. And for now, have a fantastic day. Maya, once again, you've been amazing. Thanks very much. Take care, everyone.
Thank you so much, guys.
Take care now. Bye.
Bye. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.